yourself.
Mike Tyson just pulled a shocking move that left Jake Paul's world in shambles. Yes, Jake Paul, the guy who acts like he's untouchable, is now sitting in a prison cell, scrambling to explain himself. Tyson didn't just have him arrested, he did it right before the weekend, meaning Jake had to sweat it out for 2 long days before even thinking about bail. Can you believe it? Jake's supposed to be prepping for the biggest fight of his life on November 15th, but instead he's stuck behind bars, wondering how everything went so wrong. You're probably dying to know what Jake did to deserve this nightmare. Well, the details are even crazier than you'd imagine, and you won't find this story anywhere else. Get ready, because what happens next is beyond wild. Jake Paul didn't end up in prison over some typical celebrity scandal. It all ties back to the infamous press conference on August 18th. Remember that event at the Jacob Javits Center in New York City? Everyone expected just another over-the-top hype session for Jake's upcoming fight with Mike Tyson. But instead of the usual trash talk and bravado, the whole thing spiraled into chaos the moment Jake stepped on stage. Jake, known as the king of trash talk, took it way too far this time. He crossed a line by mocking Tyson's illness. Yes, you heard that right, Jake had the audacity to take a shot at one of the greatest boxers in history. That reckless move set off a chain of events that landed him behind bars. Jake Paul took things too far when he mocked Mike Tyson's health during that infamous press conference. The room fell dead silent, like everyone collectively paused to process the disaster unfolding before them. Even Jake's most diehard fans must have wondered, did he really just go there? But Jake wasn't about to back down. In classic Jake Paul fashion, he doubled down, puffed out his chest, and made it clear that he didn't care about respect, honor, or even the sport itself. For Jake, this wasn't about a legendary showdown with Mike Tyson. It was just another payday, another opportunity to grab the spotlight and cash in. To him, Tyson was merely a stepping stone in his relentless pursuit of fame and fortune. Jake Paul has never been about becoming a better fighter or learning from a legend like Mike Tyson. For Jake, it's always been about staying in the headlines, keeping the buzz alive, and feeding his ever-hungry ego. Meanwhile, Tyson has been battling real health issues, dealing with ulcers, yet he hasn't backed down. Sure, he took a brief pause, but only to ensure he was in top shape to face Jake. You'd think that kind of dedication might earn Jake's respect, right? Wrong. Instead, Jake's out there picking fights with Mike Perry not for the challenge, but just to keep his name in the press. Jake Paul's entire rise in the boxing world has been more like a soap opera, filled with drama, controversy, and plenty of moments that make you wonder if any of it's even real. Sure, he's got the bravado, and his massive social media following keeps him relevant. But let's not ignore the growing chorus of Voices fans, boxing experts, you name it, who are all but shouting from the rooftops that something smells off about his victories, especially those conveniently timed TKOs that seem to pop up just when Jake needs them most. And that's exactly why Tyson had something to say about it. In the high-stakes world of professional boxing, where reputation and respect are everything, Jake's antics have pushed the boundaries too far, and now he's facing the consequences. In the world of boxing, every jab, hook, and uppercut can mean the difference between a triumphant victory or a crushing defeat. The referee holds ultimate power, calling the shots to ensure the fight is fair and square. But when it comes to Jake Paul's so-called victories, those refs have left more people scratching their heads than celebrating. Take his fight with Tyron Woodley on August 29th, 2021. That match ended in a TKO, but let's be real, it felt more like a Houdini act than a genuine boxing match. Woodley, a fighter known for his toughness, was suddenly stopped in his tracks. The whole thing felt off, like watching a scripted scene where the last thing anyone wanted was for Jake's face to meet the canvas. And who could forget the bizarre showdown with Ben Askren on April 17th, 2021? Another TKO, another round of weight. What just happened? Askren, a former MMA champ, barely had time to hit the mat before the ref swooped in, like he was auditioning for a safety commercial. It was as if someone had put training wheels on Jake's boxing career, making sure he stayed upright no matter what, even if it meant cutting the fight short. These suspicious moments have left fans and experts alike questioning the legitimacy of Jake Paul's rise in the boxing world. Fans and critics alike were left scratching their heads, wondering if Jake Paul's so-called victories were the real deal or just part of a grand scheme to protect a rising star with credentials as solid as a sandcastle. But Jake crumbled under pressure when Tyson dropped a bombshell about a new rule during the press conference. The crowd erupted with excitement. They finally thought they'd see a real fight. with no more shady wins or controversial calls. Fans were beyond fed up with the drama surrounding Jake's victories, and they cheered Tyson's decision like it was the best news they'd heard all year. The arena was practically shaking as people chanted Tyson's name, showing their full support for a fair, no-nonsense showdown. But Jake? He didn't take it like a champ. In fact, he completely unraveled. What made it all the more cringeworthy was how Jake had been talking a big game before. During negotiations, he was all about fighting on Tyson's terms, making bold claims about how he was ready to step up to the challenge. But now, faced with the reality of those terms, he was backpedaling faster than anyone could have imagined. The bravado was out the window, and all that was left was a guy clearly trying to wiggle out of a fight he suddenly wasn't so sure about. The charges against Jake Paul were serious.
Hey, listen, I'm just ready.
This breach of contract and potential fraud all wrapped up in the legal snare that Mike Tyson's team had meticulously set up. And let me tell you, the arrest wasn't just swift, it was like a bolt out of the blue. 1 minute, Jake was living it up, acting like the carefree, too cool for school surfer dude he always tries to be. The next minute, bam, he's being hauled away, looking more like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar than the loudmouth YouTuber turned boxer we've all gotten used to. When Mike Tyson gets mad, things usually spiral out of control. But this time, instead of letting his temper take over, Tyson took a step back. Why? Because Tyson's been down that road before and knows exactly where it leads. He's not about to let some hot-headed outburst drag him into a mess, not for Jake Paul, not for anybody. Tyson played it smart, letting the law do the talking, while Jake faced the consequences of his reckless behavior. Mike Tyson gave a knowing nod, acknowledging the old part of himself, the side that used to settle every dispute with his fists. No second thoughts, no hesitation. That's the Tyson who once dominated the ring, who didn't tolerate any nonsense. But it's also the Tyson who's painfully aware that his temper has gotten him into more trouble than he cares to remember. He even opened up about it, giving us a glimpse of just how close he's come to the edge. It's a sobering reminder of how thin the line is for Tyson between maintaining control and letting things spiral out of hand. So when Jake Paul pushed his limits, Tyson knew better. When Jake Paul started pushing his buttons, Mike Tyson made a conscious decision. This wasn't just about putting Jake in his place, it was about Tyson keeping his own demons at bay. By choosing to handle things through the legal system, Tyson showed everyone that he's learned from his past and won't let Jake or anyone else drag him back into the chaos he's worked so hard to leave behind. It was more than a strategic move, it was a testament to the growth and self-control of a man who knows that sometimes the toughest fights aren't the ones in the ring, but the ones you have with yourself. By now, Jake's probably found a way to wiggle out of that prison cell after all. He's the brash-talking celeb we all know. But let's be real, the stain on his name will make every sponsor think twice before investing in him. And honestly, after the Tyson fight, nobody's going to be talking about Jake Paul anymore. This might just be his first and last time in the spotlight for a fight this hyped.